I'm Dan Collins with Mercy Medical Center in Baltimore, Maryland, and you're watching Medoscopy. Thank you for joining us for today's procedure. While typically our set is home to doctors and other clinicians, that is, those who deliver care, today we have a guest on the receiving end, patient Maggie Kudirka. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Maggie, now tell me if I'm wrong about this, but you were only 23 when you were diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. Now, I don't believe that the public generally thinks much about breast cancer as an issue for younger women. In fact, only 5% of cases are women in their 20s. So take us back to when you were 23, about 2014, where you were in life and your journey in combating cancer.
Yeah, I was living my dream of being a ballet dancer. I was living in New York City on my way of becoming a professional dancer, and I had found a pea-sized lump in my armpit, and I didn't really think anything of it. I just thought it was fatty deposits or something like that. And over time, the lump grew where I could physically see it in my chest wall, and I was having sternum pain, and I just thought it was a dance injury. I didn't think anything of it. So when I heard those words, "you have breast cancer," it hit me like a brick. Like it wasn't something I realized I could get. In the back of my mind, I had a feeling it was breast cancer, but I just didn't know someone at 23 could get breast cancer. So it was definitely shocking.
And so once you found out that you actually had breast cancer, what happened then? What was the next steps for you?
The next steps is I actually came to Mercy for a second opinion and switched my doctor right away because I just felt more confident with Dr. Reisberg, who's my oncologist. And I moved back to Baltimore from New York City and just started intense chemo and just taking care of my health before my career. And I'm so glad I did. And I started advocating for young women because I didn't know, and everyone should know that anyone at any age can get cancer.
On your website, you described yourself as a passionate advocate for metastatic breast cancer, and you spoke on Capitol Hill on the issue in 2016. Talk to us a little bit about your advocacy efforts.
I advocate the way I feel I would have liked to have found out about breast cancer. I tell my story. I think it's so important, not only for regular people to hear about young women getting breast cancer, but also doctors and people who do the research and all of that. So I recently joined the Pink Agenda as a board member, and I'm bringing my voice as a metastatic patient to that organization, and I put them in check sometimes. I'm like, wait, you're forgetting about us who are living with this disease for years or months and don't have that time to ring the bell. So I think it's important to share my side of the story and to remind people that while I look healthy, I'm still dealing with a terminal cancer, and that it's important to use your voice and to share your story if you're up to it. It's not for everyone.
Now, over the years, you've done quite a few interviews. You're doing another one right now. What's it been like handling all that media attention? Do you think it's helped?
I think it has. It definitely has given me confidence. I was speech delayed as a child, and I was really nervous about public speaking. And anytime I had to speak in public, I would break down in tears. But cancer taught me you need to take life and just run with it. And it was something that I do, and it's so important. I've had so many fun opportunities from the media. I've gone to New York and done photo shoots and modeled on New York Fashion Week and had all of that fun thing that I would have not necessarily had as a dancer, but it's given me confidence, and it's something that I don't think I would have ever done if I hadn't gotten cancer.
So in telling your story to the media, do you think it's helping to educate the public about what's truly involved in cancer and the issue of breast cancer in younger people?
For sure. I think when even local news stations share my story, it helps maybe someone who is in their 20s dealing with a lump or pain to go to the doctor and to insist on tests. I think sometimes we think the doctors are in control of our health when we are. So anytime I can share it and I get a message, it's usually every time I do something, I get a message saying, I went to my doctor after hearing your story and made sure I got the tests I needed to. So I think it's rewarding for me, but I think it also helps people take control of their life too.
I know you did a story recently with Denise Koch from WJZ. Do you ever get sort of tired of going over and telling the same story again and again? Or is it like a way of pulling some positive energy in terms of what you're dealing with, and it helps you in some way?
I don't get tired of telling my story because every story that is done about me is slightly different. Like Denise was focusing on the financial side of things and how expensive cancer treatment is and all of that. And other people go more on the dance side or the drug side. So everyone sees a different side of my story. And yes, it's the same outline, but they fill it in with different aspects. And it really helps, I think, get more information out there because everyone sees it a little differently. And it's helpful for me because I also have to think of different answers, and it's not just the same answer over and over and over again.
Is there a side to your story that you feel hasn't been explored yet or that you would like to address?
I think it's one thing that I always try to bring up is that all the breast cancer treatments are geared to older women. I had to go into menopause. I had a complete hysterectomy and oophorectomy. So that my treatments were more effective. And I think people don't realize that as a 20-year-old, and I have a friend who was diagnosed at 18 with metastatic breast cancer, we had to go into menopause and risk losing that chance of having a child or having a family. So that's something I think people don't always want to talk about because it is a very depressing topic, but it's something that people don't realize that as a young breast cancer patient, we go through.
I think when a lot of us are either dealing with an illness of our own or like a family member, if we have the ability and the time, do a lot of self-education, doing research and so forth. What have you learned over the course of these years? Working with someone like Dr. Reisberg, for example, you're probably hearing a lot about new studies and new research and so forth. What have you learned?
That the cancer world changes very quickly. From when I was diagnosed in 2014, I've been on drugs that weren't even at the surface when I was diagnosed. And the drug I'm on now wasn't even in trials probably now, but now it's at the market and it's helping so many women. So the cancer world changes very quickly, and not to lose hope, because there could be a drug that could make this terminal cancer into a chronic cancer and one that people can live with forever. It's not one that hopefully will take away our lives quicker. It'll hopefully prolong our lives.
Thank you. We'll take a break and we'll return after this message.
I'm Maggie Kudirka, and I'm here for targeted therapy infusion for breast cancer. I started dancing when I was 4. I danced all through my childhood. I went to college for dance. I got a BFA from Towson University here in Baltimore. And then I moved up to New York to join the Joffrey Concert Group in 2013. I was diagnosed June 2014. It basically ended my career because being a dancer and joining a company was out of the question because I have to come in every 3 weeks for treatments.
Not only was she 23 years old with diagnosed breast cancer, but only about 4 or 5% of all women with breast cancer, when they're diagnosed, end up having metastatic disease. Metastatic disease is considered treatable, but not curable. And the fact that she did that with strength and grace throughout the whole thing is remarkable.
So I started the page Ball Ballerinas. It just is growing and growing, and I educate young women about breast cancer and that anyone can get it at any age. And I always do a plug for Mercy because I think it's such a great hospital. This is like a second home, basically. I know all the nurses. All the nurses are wonderful. They're like aunts and uncles to me because I know them so well. And knowing that Dr. Friedman is the best breast surgeon in Baltimore, that just said it, that we should come to Mercy.
As frequent viewers know, one regular feature of our program is a sort of show and tell, where guests bring in something, could be an item of some kind, a book, a photograph, who knows what, but in some way is important to them, says something about who they are and what they're about. And we have a particularly special item today. Maggie, who is this?
This is my emotional support animal, Mama Mia. I got her a few years ago when I had news of a really bad progression, and I was really depressed. I was crying every day, and our breeder, who we had gotten dogs from before, had her available, and we jumped at the chance to get her because she just brings a smile to everyone's face when you see her. And the moment we went to pick her up, my life changed. She brought happiness, joy, and I call her my daughter because while I can't have a physical daughter, I've watched her grow up. And we do fun dog events, she does running events, and she does tricks. She can do tricks out the wazoo, but she's just someone who always brings joy to my life, as you can see. She's a little ball of fur and energy, and she loves any attention she can get.
Yeah, I've seen on your page and your posts on Facebook, dog shows and so forth. Mm-hmm. So does Mamma Mia compete?
She used to. So she had a hernia when she was born, so she couldn't continue doing the dog shows, but we do performance events. There's an event called Fast Cat where she has to run 100 yards, and she does it. She's always the turtle, which is the slowest dog, but it's an honor to be the turtle. But she loves running, and we do it some spring and fall because it's too hot in the summer for her to do it, and I don't want to stand out in the cold and do it. But she loves her running events. We do tricks. And she just travels with me. We'll go on, we call them her adventures, and we just do various things. She'll go run errands with me some days or just snuggle with me on the couch and in bed.
And I understand she's got some furry friends at home?
She does. We have her aunt at home who's 12. She just turned 12, who's a crazy girl. Her name's Priscilla. And then we have, he's related, but way down the line, Kenny, who I do the dog shows with, and he does Fast Cat as well. And then we just got her half-sister, Dolly, who we're going to train and do all the dog events with too.
And are they all the same breed?
They're all Pomeranians.
What's the best thing about Pomeranians?
Oh, they can fit on your lap. And they all have different personalities, and if you give them love, they give you 10 times as much love as you give them. They're the best.
So you feel that, in terms of being a therapy dog for you, she's really made a difference?
She really has. She knows when I'm really not doing well. And sometimes she gets sick when I'm sick, I think to mirror my feelings. But I remember I had come home after my hysterectomy and oophorectomy, and I wasn't feeling well, and she knew she couldn't sit on my lap. So when I was laying down, she would come up to my shoulder and just snuggle with me on my shoulder. And if I'm not feeling well, she's right by my side. She won't play with anyone. She'll just stay there checking on me. I call her my little nurse. And then she actually is really connected to my mom. She had a knee replacement, and she made sure to take care of my mom too. So she's like all of our little therapy dogs. Right?
Well, thank you so much for bringing Mamma Mia on the set with us today.
She's having a blast. Say bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. We'll take one more break and return for the final segment of today's Medoscopy.
In this morning's Woman's Doctor, it's no secret that cancer takes a toll on your body and your spirit. Having a positive attitude during treatment is very important. Doctors also recommend a few things that you can do during treatment to at least look like yourself.
2022 was a very tough year for Suzanne Evans from Annapolis. She went for her first mammogram, and it was normal, but then...
Probably about 6 months later, I started noticing my skin rippling and almost seeing a bump coming through.
She got it checked out. The diagnosis, stage 1 breast cancer. She says it was almost stage 2.
So then when I got the chemo news, I think that was the first time I actually cried, because I was thinking of my children. I didn't want them to see me sick.
While the treatment wouldn't be easy, Suzanne's doctor, breast surgeon Dr. Wen Lang at Mercy Medical Center, recommended a few things to help Suzanne at least look like herself through the process. First off, nipple-sparing mastectomy and immediate reconstruction.
We have no visible scars that you can see from the front. And the patient can have immediate reconstruction, which means the implant is placed at the same time.
Another recommendation, cold cap therapy, in hopes of preserving her hair. And then...
I recently started recommending, for example, microblading to the eyebrows, which a lot of women do anyway, but perhaps doing it before starting chemo, it'll stay.
Dr. Lang says this all allows patients to undergo treatment under the radar when out and about. Suzanne says she could even tour colleges with her daughter during that time period.
It's a rough time. Like you're bloated, you're on steroids, you don't feel pretty. But having your hair and little things like that, and just it does make a difference.
Maggie, I understand you have a particular affinity for Disney and have visited quite often. Tell us about that.
I've loved Disney as a child. I mean, I grew up with the classics, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, all of them. But Disney's always brought me joy. The music, I would play it in my car. Even before I was diagnosed, I would watch the movies. It just always brought happiness and made me feel like a child. So I was coming up to my third cancerversary, as I call it, and that's a big milestone. And my mom and I just decided to go down to Disney for a few days and enjoy the magic of Disney. And ever since that trip, we just go down every couple months for 2 or 3 days. We don't stay long, we just do enough and we just enjoy the magic. And we usually go either before a scan or after a scan to help keep my mind off of things. If it's a bad scan, we can just celebrate being alive. If it's a good scan, we can celebrate a good scan. I go for my birthday and it's so magical down there that it just makes you forget about everything that's happening in your regular life. It's just like the dance studio. It makes you forget sometimes. So anytime I can go down to Disney and just enjoy it, and even if it's just sitting in the hotel or in the park, just enjoying the atmosphere, it really helps keep me alive and as a child.
No, I understand. I mean, my wife is a huge Disney fan, and we had just actually gotten back from a week down there. Never been, so it was my first time experience. So I had my first timers button, and plus it was for my 60th birthday, so I had my birthday button. So yeah, I got a lot of attention that way. You're right; it's absolutely delightful. My wife's favorite is Beauty and the Beast. Do you have a particular favorite?
I like Cinderella, and I used to really like Beauty and the Beast because it came out the year I was born, and I loved the Beast probably because he reminded me of a dog. But then I had a really special interaction with Cinderella one trip down there, and ever since then she just has become my favorite. And she doesn't seem like she is so strong, but she really is. Her story is so strong and so powerful that I just related to her. So Cinderella is my favorite.
Have you had a chance to explore any of the new elements that they've added? Of course, the whole Star Wars phenomenon.
No, I'm not a Star Wars.
Not even curious to see how Disney's going to address that.
I went with my cousin one trip, and she wanted to go through Galaxy's Edge, and I had no idea what it was. So I did it because she did something I wanted to do. So I did it for her, and I was like, and she didn't even understand it. And she knows Disney, and she's like, I don't understand it. I have to refresh, and then I could go back. I was like, okay.
Well, I like how in Disney World they do a lot of interactive things, so you have the opportunity to really immerse yourself. And Galaxy's Edge, you can like make your own lightsaber and make a droid, which we did, and so that was a lot of fun. So, I think that's wonderful. So you think you'll keep going?
Oh yeah, I'm going in a month and a half.
Oh, that's great.